Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Being Your Own CEO. This is Lowell Ann, and welcome wherever you are. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and find my notes, and away we go. So we decided we would hit the broadcast button right at 9 o'clock this morning because it seems that there are many little weird things these days that that don't happen until you hit the broadcast button. So I have not waited for everybody to come in. So a number of people said yes, and so they may or may not arrive. So welcome here. And I just want to, by way of introduction, to alert people that if they could possibly, if they're watching from my website, if they could open another tab and go into the community, the Being Your Own CEO community, and go to Watch Now, on the side tab bar. Then if you want to put comments in, you can put them there and they will show up in my comment tracker, which I have running this morning. So that's a little bit of instruction. And after we have our introductions, I may want, before we get into talking about virtual assistants, I may like to have a little bit of a conversation about what everybody would find most convenient. So let's see, who shall we put the touch on to start the intros this morning? Well, Alana, you are all set up and ready to roll. How would you like to do that?
Okay. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. My name is Alana Birmingham, and I live in Ireland, and I run a website called Online Income and Resources, and I do that part-time. I'm also a virtual assistant part-time. So I know, Lowell, and you like success stories. So success story, it's not really a professional one, but my personal success story is we dropped off my daughter at college on Sunday. Yay!
Oh, so you're going to have an empty nest.
Bit of an empty nest, yes, but we're very proud of her. She's up in Dublin. She's studying genetics, and she's very happy so far.
Aha, right on.
Right, that's my success story for now.
That's good. Well, we look forward to chatting further as we go on. So welcome here. Glad you're with us. So I'm just going to go in line here. So Anna, how about you?
Hello. Okay, sorry, I was trying to set up my microphone and all that other stuff as I got into the room. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Fernandez, and I'm with the solosnowbird.com, which got launched at the end of July, just in time for my 60th birthday, blah, blah, blah. And it's going really well. I'm getting lots of hits on it, and it's just growing. So I'm very happy about that. During the winter, I spend my time in Mexico, Mazatlan, and I cater to the snowbird community down there with their travel protection plans and healthcare plans. That's me.
Welcome here. And before I forget, later, Anna, if you stay on, I have a little bit of news about Tuesday night that I'll share with you.
So. Okay, well, I've got to run at 10 o'clock or 10:15, no, 10:10 at the latest, so.
Yeah, okay. All right, so Jay, you're right in the center.
Oh, hi. Hello, my name is Jay, and my company is Magi Studios, and I help people get started in the world of online marketing. I hail from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, and doing well. I'm looking at some stats. I spent $10 over the weekend, and I earned 106. So
I love it. Was that as a result of that Facebook thing you did? Right.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of Houston Texans fans, especially since they won. So
Right.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So pretty good conversion ratio.
No.
Not bad for dipping $10 into the pot, right? So
I think you must have the marketing something implanted in the top of your head.
the Kavorka, I call it the Kavorka.
Okay.
Anyone that watches Seinfeld would get that reference, but layman's would be like the Midas, SEO Midas, right? Anyways, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks for joining us, Jay. Paul, you're next in line. Good morning.
Good morning, Lolan and Company. Our company is TTG International Management, and we try to turn ideas into profitable action, something Jay is very good at, as he's pointed out again and again, and with good reason. Success is wonderful. We, meaning Lolan and I, are in beautiful downtown Victoria. Sun is shining on the left coast of North America, just above Seattle, in a wonderful country called Canada. Over and out.
Right on. Welcome here. Just for everybody's benefit, Paul and I happen to live in the same neighborhood. So a little bit farther away from Jay, although we were in Jay's office last Friday for a very successful meeting. So we're all on, Anna is in Victoria right now as well. So, wow.
Anna, you should have swung by.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so Weewick, you're the one in the film strip next to Paul.
Namaste. My name is Vivek. VivekTechnology.com is my website, and I have a joint venture with Roland, which is Init Mobile. I'm a software developer, and I try to make things simple. In terms of, I'm close to London. Today the weather has been really hot, and they are saying it's the hottest September day
Wow.
for 20-30 years or something like that. So yeah, weather is good these days. So.
Right on. Welcome here. So I have a few pieces of good news. Yes, my business is Workstyle Lifestyle Consulting. That's the name of it. And I like to work with solopreneurs, helping them become more efficient and pay more attention to their online presence. So, and I also help a couple of organizations with their meetup sites. And given that, I did my very first tutorial this week. I did that instead of a written blog. That was intended to help people figure out how to make the best use of the tutorial or the meetup site. Sorry.
I watched the whole thing. It was actually very good.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I watched it the second time around and I thought, well, I can see lots of room for improvement, but I thought not bad for a first attempt. So that was one. My second really good news is I've been working with Craig, who's not here yet, trying to sort of improve the SEO on my website. And he made some recommendations, as did Jay. And so we've been taking his advice. So as a result of that work, I did an incognito search for the keyword that I'm using, business coaching for solopreneurs. And on that one, I got 30, the 30th place. But then when I decided to do just the same keyword plus Victoria, I was in #1 place. And when we started, I was probably on the second or third page for the people in Victoria. So I moved from way down right up to #1. So that was, that's my celebration. No kidding. So Jay and Craig, I thank you both. So Nathan, I see you just jumped in. Would you like to introduce yourself quickly before we move into discussion?
Yeah, sure. Nice to be here. Sorry about being a bit late. Yeah, my name is Nathan. I'm currently living in Ensenada on the Baja, Mexico. And my thing is what I call done-for-you publishing. And it's a process where I take budding writers from zero to published author very quickly using the process of interviews. So it's a very different way of writing a book, very effective, very fast. And the people I'm working with exclusively are business people. I have a system in place, a structure for them to follow, and it turns them into a star within their niche. That's what it's about. That's it.
Right on.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Good to
Nice
hear
to be
that
back.
that is going well for you. Have you got a good news story? We've been sharing good news stories.
Oh, geez, a good news story. Well, I mean, a big part of what I've been doing is working on joint ventures, and I'm working on a major one right now with the help of my JV partners. I just wound up rewriting the sales letter completely, and I used a totally different headline instead of, you know, have you ever wanted to write a book as the first headline. I changed it to how to save $55,000 when writing your book. That changed the entire thing of the sales letter, and I back up where that comes from in the copy, and when you read it, it's like, wow. I mean, all the people who have read what I've done so far, the feedback I'm getting is, this is really good.
Right
And
on.
it's not salesy, it's very sincere, and I'm just going, I got it right, finally. It's about the 5th time I rewrote it. And so, well, it's not uncommon with sales letters.
Well, experimentation. It doesn't matter what we're doing. We keep trying until we get it right.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah. So before we begin our targeted topic this morning, I really wanted to find out from those of you in the green room here, or what we're trying to call this now is being a panel member. Seemed to be a better terminology for the general public, understanding exactly what that means. So I've been trying to switch the language a little bit for that reason. Everybody knows that, you know, things have changed within Google Plus, and we can't use the event page anymore, etc. And there have been lots of experimentation happening in Andrew's community, user to user, and we held a memorial service on Sunday, which was kind of funny. Anyway, however, we thought everything would just end, and nothing seems to have changed. So anyway, but we're all trying to discover a way where people can view and or participate within a hangout, such as what we're doing this is now called a live stream event. But also, how do we do that in such a way that people who prefer to just watch and add comments or questions or whatever, I certainly have figured out how to make comment tracker work. We've got that working here. But so I had started out this morning by suggesting that if anybody was just watching, and all of my links have sent people to my website, but if they would like to add comments, what they would need to do is to go to the Google Plus community, the Being Your Own CEO community, and find the link there and add their comments there. So now my question would be, what do you think? Do you think that's too awkward? And would it be better for me to embed a direct viewing of the YouTube, for me to put the link to the YouTube right on the community and invite people to just add their comments to that and have people just come to the community? The reason I'm asking this question, you see, I mean, the purpose of doing all of these things is to invite people to your website so that they can see all the other things that you do and all the services and so forth. But if we still haven't figured out a way for people to add their comments and or questions. So from the perspective of those of you who are in the film strip, I'm guessing that it doesn't really matter to you. Am I right? Yeah. Because you're inside the film or you are a panel member, and therefore, if you wanted to comment, you would be putting it into the little comment inside the Hangout, where I see there's a comment there already that Nathan did. However, there's no way that I can share that comment with the viewers or the rest of the viewers. Whereas if somebody puts a comment somewhere out in Google Plus, somewhere, I can pull that in as a comment in the comment tracker. But so Vivek, what have you? Yeah. So
I'm just showing you what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is an example of the way that you can bring in a comment that was placed below the link in the community. So I'm guessing that from the perspective of the folks that come to my Hangouts, they don't really care because we do all of our engagement inside the panel as opposed to kind of back and forth. So anybody have any comments or suggestions or ideas? I mean, if I could find a plugin that would work on my website on a sidebar, there were some suggestions made a few weeks ago, and we looked into all of those, and none of them work.
You know, I think
I have an idea too. Sorry, Jay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I think, there needs to be a line drawn in the sand, so to speak, in terms of how far one is willing to go to accommodate your audience, and honestly, like, the way that I perceive this is like a university-based lecture where, if you want the information, if you want to be able to capture that type of information that's being spoken about, then write it down, Personally, I find no value in the screenshots of someone leaving a comment. I don't, because I can't engage with that comment, So, and I think maybe like the way that we work inside Wealthy Affiliate is if anyone has something to say during the broadcast, that's within a comment stream, right? Where I usually speak and say something what it is. And then if someone has an engaging question pre, during, or post the webinar, they can ask that in a discussion area, which does say, stick there. So, I think if anyone has any kind of relevant questions, I think maybe steering people to I don't know, wherever, but I think focusing that on the post hangout would be ideal, because instead of you kind of scrambling around trying to find what to do, just for the sheer fact of being able to show a comment on the screen, to me, there's not a tremendous amount of value, because it's a short, meaningless relationship for that particular comment.
Well, in the past, the way that the event page was used, you got to know other viewers. There was a fair amount of engagement that happened there. And just as in the wealthy affiliate one, I mean, I don't know whether you have time when you're presenting, but there's a lot of engagement between people happening there. And of course, that's what we're trying to promote is the engagement between. That's what I'm trying to promote for sure, is the engagement between people. And that's why I created the Being Your Own CEO community on Google Plus as a place where people could come and share comments and engage with one another. It works some days better than others, but partially because I firmly believe there are a lot of people that still don't understand that concept of what engagement really means.
Yeah, I guess I have a biased view because I'm a panelist. I need to be able to see it from a viewer's perspective, right? So obviously, my comments are based on me being a panelist, so I can't see what other people are seeing. So maybe one week I won't show up and I'll just be a fly on the wall, and then I'll be able to offer my observations. So.
I wouldn't be surprised if Roland is. I got a message from him early this morning that said he would be watching. Now he had an appointment that he had to go to, so I don't know if he's watching live or whether he meant he was watch later. I don't know. So yeah. So Nathan, you said you had a comment, and then Vivek, you signaled as well.
There are a couple of things, and I don't know how well this will work, but one of the things I remember from embedding things in different sections years ago, what we would use, I'm trying to remember what it was called, but it was like an inline thing. It was a bit of code that you would put into wherever section, and I can't remember the code term for it, but it was just something that would allow you to embed all sorts of things in different areas on a web page.
An iframe.
Thank you, an iframe.
Yes.
So an iframe is one thing, but the other thing that I was thinking about, and it's based on Jay's comment, and I don't know how it would work, but to be able to set up something with the comments in such a way that after the show it would generate, or there would be a way of copying everything out to stick it into a PDF file and make it available for people after the show so they could reference it. I think that would be very useful.
Yeah, they're experimenting with that.
Cool.
Andrew Hatchett has been experimenting with that.
Okay, yeah, that's all that came to mind, really, and good that other people are on it. That's great.
Yeah. Right on. And Vivek, you signaled you wanted to say something?
Yeah. I kind of disagree with what Jay was saying. This is not a university. I
didn't say it was university.
30 years ago. This is not a university. So, at least when I was in the university, I learned the most when the professor was engaging. He or she was getting the feedback from the students and responding. And if it was just, I'm the professor, I'm going to teach you, either you listen or you do what you want. I never learned anything much from such professors, so I hated them.
I don't think that's what Jay meant when he said that. I think he was just referring to the skills that we developed in university of taking our own notes of something that's important to us. I think that's all he was trying to get to. Am I right, Jay? Yeah. Yeah. So nobody, I mean, the whole concept of engagement, and that's really what we're all trying to figure out, how to do that. And I have always chosen with my model to have the engagement happen inside the panel. So it probably means less to me, but there seem to be a lot of people that, you take Roz Betts, she did, that's the comment that, that WeWEC,
and she
lives in Australia.
And
yeah.
She can probably never really come in live and watch the whole thing, but she does interact with us, and
so that's kind of the what we're driving at. I mean, there's some people who like to connect up, and by the way, I don't know if anybody watched the memorial service that we held, but you know, both in the comments and within the panel, we talked about the relationships that we all developed with people from all over the world that we had never met before, and it all happened because of that. So the engagement piece is important. So I feel the need for us to move on, because I had invited Alana to, when she mentioned that she was, part of her work is as a virtual assistant, I went, oh, there's a good topic for us. So I did a little bit of research yesterday and found some interesting things. One of them being that perhaps she wouldn't have discovered, or maybe she has. There is a site called the Canadian virtualgurus.com, and they seem to be sort of putting themselves out there as pay per task kind of thing, and you know, the whole gamut of things that could be done. So my question before Alana has, I want to ask her what it's like and how she does it, etc. But I have a question for everybody. Is anybody here used a virtual assistant in the past? So you have, Jay. Are you still using one?
No, but I am shopping for one now. Another one. So
right.
But yeah, I'd like to do a kind of a mentor and also you know, paid and then also mentorship. So I'm without giving too much away, I'm kind of waiting for something to happen inside WA. So but yeah, right. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, well, and I certainly I did one little search within WA, wealthy affiliates, for anybody who happens to be out there who doesn't know what it is. There seem to be a number of members in there who talk about being setting up a business as a wealthy affiliate. I've used it. I've used I guess in my own mind, I sort of separate the two. I have always thought of a virtual assistant as somebody who takes on an ongoing task that we don't have the time or the inclination to do. Something like bookkeeping, for example. However, there are sites, and I think there's one called Odesk, and there are several others, where if you need one thing done, you can find somebody that will do it.
Just a quick clarification. Odesk is now called Upwork.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Right on. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where did I get Odesk? I saw it online somewhere.
Oh yeah, Odesk had been around for many moons, but it just merely got absorbed into one company called Upwork.
Upwork. Okay.
Yeah. So, and, maybe they do all their banking in the Cayman Islands now. Who knows? But,
You're right.
but yeah, it's now called Upwork.com.
Yeah. And so this Canadian virtual guru.com that I found was kind of like that, pay per task, but they seem to they seem to combine those two aspects. This sort of ongoing thing that people need to have done, along with one pay per task sort of thing. So and I have to say, I was looking for somebody to create a cover for an ebook, and somebody like I just sent my logo and a little bit about my branding, and this person got it and came back and created something that was exactly what I needed, and very quickly and very reasonably. So that's my experience. Anybody else use a VA other than Jay and I? No?
I've used Upwork a little bit. I can't figure out why my video is not working all of a sudden, but I've used Upwork for different assignments, mostly for transcribing. And I'm going to be doing a lot more outsourcing because of my publishing business. I'll be looking for editors and interviewers and so on. And definitely I'll be going to Upwork for some of those resources for sure.
Oh, right on. So so that's another piece, transcribing, that I hadn't thought of, and that certainly isn't on a list. And if we still have the time, I did find an article online that was came out of Entrepreneur magazine, which I subscribe to. And the article was called Outsourcing, and all the different things that you might use for outsourcing. But so Alana, talk to us about, well, first of all, how did you get into, do you put yourself out there as a virtual assistant? Is your business called that, or how does that work?
Okay, so I kind of fell into this a few years ago. San Francisco days, I used to work for Pacific Gas and Electric Company. I was there almost 10 years, and I worked with a load of engineers. I lost contact with all those guys, but two of them found me on Facebook. And I used to work for and asked me would I like to do virtual assistant work for him because he was starting a consulting company. I said, sure. Then he told her that I was working for him, and then she wanted me to work for her. So that's how it started.
Uh-huh.
I worked for them many years ago, and we had a very good working relationship. I reestablished those connections. And I've been working for the guy I used to work for, company fell apart. So the woman I'm still working for, I've been working for her about now. And it's basically per diem work. It's basically doing engineering manuals. I do typing, editing, proofing. I do a little Photoshop work for her. It's all per diem work. It's just kind of something that came my way, and I kind of worked it in with Wealthy Affiliate and my website work. Recently, because of all this stuff I learned on Wealthy Affiliate, ironically found a client in Canada who was looking for someone to do research for him. So I sent him a private message on Facebook, and I said, listen, if you want to give me a try, you can give me a few hours. I'll do some hours for you. If you like what I do, then we'll continue on with the relationship. And so I did some research for him. He gave me some hours. I'm still working with him, so I'm hoping to get more work from him. And so now I'm thinking maybe I can actually create a business from this, But I also really like the idea of the wealthy affiliate side and the affiliate marketing. So I need two now. So I'm trying to marry the two together. So the thing is, I have my own domain name that is my name. So I'm thinking right now of turning that domain name into my virtual assistant business. So, but so far, everything I've done has been word of mouth. I haven't advertised at all. I'm thinking I probably should.
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing stories like that where it's like, well, I took the information I learned from Wealthy Affiliate and ended up getting this client or getting this or getting that. It's such a for me it's a wonderful form of satisfaction because I'm obviously heavily invested in WA in terms of providing some of that education. So it's great to hear success snippets, if you will, saying, well, I took the information about SEO or about this and managed to get a client, and in Canada for that matter. So
yeah, that was, I found kind of strange as well, that this guy was in Canada, and I'm not going to reveal who he is, but he's actually
I'm pretty much, I know who he is.
So.
I think I know who it is, so yeah.
Well, anyway, yeah, I was doing some research for him, and I hope to continue the relationship because he seems like a really cool guy.
Yeah, he's a very cool guy.
You guys are sharing secrets.
Well, I don't actually know if it's a secret. I can only presume that Jay and I are talking about the same guy. So
yeah. Well, and I mean, you point up, you both point up something really interesting, and I mean, when we're looking for somebody, we're all subject to this. We'll go and try to find somebody that we know and trust. Long before we start looking for I mean, it's very similar to the whole world of recruitment that I came from. Oh my goodness, if you were in a company and you needed somebody, let's say somebody left or is going on pregnancy leave or whatever, I mean, as a company, you would the first thing you would do is go out in the organization and ask, who do you know that knows how to do this? Long before you would put an advert out on the net and have to comb through thousands of resumes. So you're always going to go with the known and trusted, always.
And that is a problem being a virtual assistant, is because you can never prove that you know what you know. I managed to reconnect with someone that I worked with 20, 30 years ago. To me, it was great. It was wonderful because we picked up right where we left off. There was never a hiccup there. I still know how these people work. I know what they like, and I never missed a deadline. And putting yourself out there on the internet, virtual assistants, I think, tend to get very shortchanged because in order to get your foot in the door, you kind of have to work for nothing for a while. Until you build up that relationship, and then you can start increasing your fees and stuff. But you can't just simply say, I can do this for you, because you never get the interview part. Mm-hmm. You don't get that part when you're doing VA work. Mm-hmm. So that's where I find it kind of hard and key. If you can network and you have established relationships where you can help someone, and perhaps locally is the way to go, because you already know people in your area, and once you tell them what you want to do, mm-hmm. give you a shot,
Well, and I might compare what you're saying to what happens with coaches, for example. What we used to do in the early days of coaching was we would put out there that we would offer a complimentary session so that the person could actually experience what the coaching experience was like. However, and that worked really, really well for a long time. But what happened was people began to realize, oh, I can get all kinds of free coaching just by skipping from one coach to another and taking advantage of their complimentary session. So that's a little bit the same thing that happens, is that there's always going to be somebody that plays the system in some way. So then it comes down to finding ways to connect with people in that sort of, well, we're back to engagement again, aren't we?
Yeah. See, the difference there too is they're not going through a company. It's like one to someone and you're saying, okay, you do a favor for me, I'll do a favor for you. And there's no professional structure there, much bypassed. And so you lose the professional well. And so then when it comes to talking about money, already at a disadvantage because people think that you'll do something for nothing.
Mm-hmm. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big perception that, because you're virtual, they assume that you're, in the Philippines somewhere and you're willing to work for pennies on the dollar, and it's, I personally don't like that fact, because it's obviously it's tempting to hire someone who does cheap labor, but I've often had the philosophy is you do get what you pay for. So if you pay someone over and above what they are normally getting or what they expect, my philosophy is that they're going to work that much harder for you, because you're paying them so much more than everyone else. So.
And you will also have their loyalty. They will be far less likely to go somewhere else. And what Jay is saying actually taps into what's been happening with my process, because one of the things that I've been getting a lot of feedback because I've been reaching out and talking to people, which is I'm not charging enough for what I'm doing, that actually what I'm doing has a much higher value, and depending on the market, a much higher value depending on who I'm talking to. So what I've been told repeatedly is, instead of pricing where I was starting, it needs to go up considerably. But the other thing that's really interesting about it, the topic of conversation, and Jay alluded to it, is when you're commanding a higher price point and there's more of a profit margin, or there's more of a margin for you to pay for services, it will allow me to hire the people that I really want to hire, the professionals that I really want to work with. It will allow me to create the relationships I really want to have and to pay them what they're worth, and not search for the cheap stuff. Because, for example, we were talking about transcribing earlier. I know that I can get 1-hour transcriptions on Upwork for $20. I also know that the going rate is more, and that's for 1 hour. But I also know that the going rate through a professional organization is more like 80 to 90. And while it's tempting to work through Upwork, there's just that. It's like Jay was saying, you get what you pay for, and there's that as well. So with what I'm doing, the idea is a long-term thing, working with really good people, hiring those who are that I really want to work with, and build those long-term relationships. So there's all of that. So and in terms of the professional stuff, another thing that I want to mention, there's a woman I know by the name of Teresa de Grosbois, and she wrote a book called Mass Influence, which you can get for free as a Kindle. But what she talks about is, in terms of the relationships, is meeting influencers, creating relationships with influential people. And if you do that and you approach it from that standpoint, the entire level of professionalism and who you work with dramatically changes.
Mm-hmm. One thing that you mentioned is long-term, and I understand that, when you're when you're hiring someone on Upwork, or hiring anyone for that matter, and you're factoring their cost into your bottom line, that's obviously that's gonna, so you ideally want to find something most cost effective so it doesn't hurt your bottom line.
Right.
But I think though that when you invest more in these types of services, your profit margin is going to increase because the perceived value of your product, service, or whatever it is that you're turning around, and it's going to have a longer term effect because it's going to be of a higher quality. People are going to remember it, and so many other little elements. One thing that I think we've touched on, which I'd like to elaborate a little bit, is value. It is so difficult to create perceived value on the internet because we can't touch, feel, we can't, a digital product is ones and zeros, we can't touch it and feel it, smell it, taste it kind of thing. Whereas a product on Amazon, like a football snack helmet is $50 and people go, okay, great, I love that. That's $50. I know I see value in that because I'm going to be able to hold it, put chips in it and this and that, perfect. I'm going to buy it. But if I said I'm selling virtual snack helmets that you can have like a hologram on your table, people are going, well, I don't know, man. Like, because people aren't going to be able to touch it, right? So, and that's one thing that I really learned about being an affiliate marketer is, when you promote things that are digital or virtual, it's a harder sell because the perception of value is that much more harder. And I think virtual services, even though there's a human behind it, it's a digital service, so the value of that service is perceived as a lower value, right? So therein is the challenge to, how does a virtual assistant show value so that they can acquire more clients, right? Alana, over to you.
Okay, well, the way I would approach that, Jay, is the Canadian client that I just started working for, I asked him to give me a shot. I said, give me a few hours. I even did a few hours for this guy for free. I ran into a little trouble early on when we were doing this initial setup, and I didn't feel it proper to charge him because I wasn't doing the actual task he asked me to do. It was outside of that task. So I said, look, I'm not going to charge this guy for that. I want to create a good relationship with this guy. I want this guy to come back and ask me to do more work for him. And it was a task-based job. He gave me 10 hours of work to do. And I think I gave him a pretty good price. He was happy with it. He seems to be happy with the work. And so I'm trying to build that relationship. And if that means I have to do a few hours worth of work, prove that I'm worth what I say I'm worth, I'm happy to do it.
So I have another question, Alana, and it must be really difficult, is to be, how do you judge how long it will take to do something? A lot of the, especially if you're doing, let's say, research or whatever, I mean, you never know what the stumbling blocks are going to be until you start to do it.
Yeah, and that's true.
Unless you've done it before.
I mean, the company that I work for that's based out of Washington State, that's the engineering consulting company, really great. I started working for them 4.5 years ago. I signed a contract with them. I signed a confidentiality agreement with them. So I was concerned about that because this person is actually a friend of mine from many years ago. I wanted to, I wanted her, to believe in me. I wanted to be totally honest with her. So whenever I ran into any kind of problem with any of the work she gave me, I contacted her immediately and said, look, should I charge you for this? Should I not charge you for this? And we had a very good relationship that way. So if something was going to take me longer, and she would even send me work and say, look, take a look at this project. Tell me how long you think it's going to take you to do it, and then I'll see if I can build it into the budget. Work like that for her. And that kind of put us both at ease. So we always knew where we were working from. There was never any any hidden hiccups or surprises in that way. So we always kind of knew. And that's the problem with assistant, is that you need even more communication, not sitting next to the person in an office. Turn to them and say, I'm stuck here. What do you want me to do in this case? So really open with your communication, and you need to have like, I'm huge on bullet points. I love bullet points, and I'm always using them. So I have no problem outlining everything I need to do, and worked.
So Alana, do you, it sounds like you, when you begin a project, you put it all on paper so that both of you are really clear about expectations both ways.
Yeah, and I make sure that if I have any questions, I put them out there right up front. The time zone, when I just finished another little project for this consulting company, and I asked for some feedback on time zone and my performance and how they liked my work, etc. The time zone actually worked to their benefit, because them being out in Washington State, from them at say 5 o'clock their time, Pacific Standard Time. I had the whole next day to start working on that, because 5 o'clock in Pacific Standard Time is 1 o'clock, or 1 o'clock in the morning my time. So when I get up in the morning, I can start working on that, and it's in their inbox. It actually, from a productivity point of view, the work got done faster for them.
It makes you look like a machine.
Yeah.
Wow.
I loved that. I have to say, I loved that. That's one of the things I love about working for somebody on the West Coast, because I have the whole next day to get started, and I can have the whole thing done for them. And I'm very upfront with my deadlines as well. I always ask, how long do you want this to go on for? What's your deadline? And I've always met the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So it works out great for me.
So it's something that I think we need to emphasize here, that when we're doing work, whatever work we're doing, how important it is to treat it like a project and put the details down on paper or on disk,
yes,
or whatever, to put it all down so that both parties are very much aware of what the expectations are. And some people sort of get a little antsy about that, because they feel as though, oh well, this is a contract, and but in my own work, I found that as long as you put things down so that both parties know exactly what's expected, then and this whole thing about a contract almost becomes unnecessary.
Right. And you hit on something very important there, Loweland, expectation, because there's an expectation on the person that's providing you with the work to do. You know, you have to be able to meet those expectations. And if that means you have to communicate more, it's better to communicate more than to take a guess or a stab at it and let them down. So I would much rather and get it right the first time than meet their expectations.
So I see,
because then you lose the work.
Yeah, and I see that Nathan has made a text comment about better to work by the project as opposed to the hour, and I couldn't agree more on that one. What about you?
Well, I would agree with that, because I haven't done so far has been hourly based. I haven't actually done a project where I haven't worked on a project that's not hourly based. I came across, I would have to really examine it closely to make sure that I don't shortchange myself. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid to give someone a few extra hours to show good faith, but I also don't want to shortchange myself.
Mm-hmm. My experience in the coaching world is if you and consulting both, I found that if you start quoting hourly, it causes the customer to get very nickel and dimey about things.
But you can also as to how many hours you think it's going to take. Now, I have done that.
Yeah, I think
I've received, and I've had to make an estimate on how long it might take me. And I'll ballpark it. I'll give myself, I don't know, I'll say maybe 15 to 20 hours to do a certain piece of work. Meet it in the 15 hours, I'll bill for 15. I don't overbill. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I think employers need an end result, and that's my personal experience in the search engine marketing consulting world. Is the people who are interested in hiring your services, they go, well, okay, well, how much is this going to cost me? And I think if you say, well, it's going to be, $50 an hour for the next, 8 hours, or you don't even say, how many hours it's going to take, there's no end result. So how deep is this well going to go? But if you put a package together, then I think that's a deal. Also, to kind of go back to what Nathan's comment, I think Nathan works in bundles, in terms of clients, right? So this gig, okay, good. Next, move on to this package or project, So whereas, Alana does more ongoing basis, because it says she was saying that she's been working with various clients over, over the past few years. So, I think it's oranges and apples there, But I agree in terms of projects and packages, assuming that it's deems fit for that particular client, right? One thing you touched on, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, or what are your expectations of someone who is to hire you? What are your expectations of the people, of your employers that hire you? Like, what are you expecting from them?
I need clear idea of what done. Like work is perfectly fine because the task at hand, the value of that task, and you can say, okay, this task is worth this amount of money, and there. Most important thing would have to be communication, and the fact that I can contact them without them feeling like, oh, you should know how to do this. You're the virtual assistant. That kind of freedom, great, but I have to feel comfortable in the decisions that I'm making around your business. Do you know what I mean? Like the people I work with in the engineering world, I worked for these guys before. I know how they operate. I know how they think. A lot of guesswork there. I'm just taking on as a client. I kind of want to know a little bit about what their expectations of me are so I can meet that.
So, Alana, I have a couple of questions that are sort of connected to this, and I'll incorporate Vivek's question. He said, what do you use to keep track of the time? So,
okay.
And
I have
let's go with that first. How do you keep track of time?
I don't know, Jay, if it was you that did this or not, but somebody in Wealthy Affiliate, this guy, his name is David Shaw.com, DAVIDSEAH.com, and these productivity forms. So I use this form. You probably can't see it. It's called the Emergent Task Timer. I've been using that from the beginning. I found that a few years ago. I found it on Wealthy Affiliate. It's been a great tool because I can block out 15-minute and that way nobody gets cheated. It's like I don't bill somebody for going to lunch. I don't bill somebody for going downstairs and making a cup. I just block my time out in 15-minute and I just feel better using that form.
Uh-huh. So it's a paper form.
I print it out on my print. I file it with whenever I have to submit a time card to my form, and I write down my hours. Then I put it on my time card, and then I submit my time card.
I see. Okay, so that's, and I see that Anna said she uses Zoho invoicing that has a time tracker built in. Yeah. So another question, when you talked about how important it is to stay in tight connection with your client, what do you use? Email?
I use Gmail. I would Skype with them once a week. They would have a weekly meeting.
Uh-huh.
There'd be probably about, I think there was 6 or 7 of us online, and we would be on a Skype call and project update, and keep in touch. We would also be on mail, so Gmail and that sort of thing. So
okay.
They all have my Skype ID. They can call me anytime they need help with something. So usually. So
one of the things that I've discovered working with Craig, for example, and a little bit with Vivek as well, is we've been using the Hangout text. It used to be an app, and that app has disappeared, but it was always right there on my desk. And if I needed to ask a question or whatever, I could just throw a little comment in there. Are you at your desk? Have you got a minute? And we can solve things very, very readily that way. And you can share links and a number of things that way. And if you're working on a document, Wiwek and I have been working on a document just using Google Docs. So
yeah, that's really good because that's kind of what we did. We set up an email account access to, and then I could put stuff in there for him to look at, so into that drive. So that worked out really well, and so he could actually see what I was doing.
Uh-huh.
He could see the research that I was doing because I wanted him to know. I didn't want him to just blindly accept what I was doing. I wanted him to see where I was getting my research from and what I was doing with it. So yeah, I think that works great.
Can I ask a question about that? Why did you create a new Gmail account versus just having your client create the doc and then inviting your regular email to share and collaborate that doc? Unless you never had a Gmail before. I'm trying to wrap my head around why that.
Yeah, he wanted the type of research that he wanted me to do required a response, and so.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, so that would complicate.
He wanted control over that, which is fine, and I prefer that. So
yeah, that makes sense then. Okay,
I just wanted him to know what I was.
So it sounds like we could go on forever here, but I see we are 4 minutes after the hour. Alana, thank you for sharing your experience. And I just by our asking questions and thinking about what you do, it has enabled us to bring out a lot of very important factors that are useful to all of us in the way that we work. And I saw that Nathan left us because he had a meeting, and Anna just had to leave as well. So, but I think based on the time, trying to be a little bit more time aware than we have been in the past, perhaps we should stop the broadcast. Just before we go, is there anybody who has one parting shot that they would like to leave us with?
I think Anna or Alana should let us know how to get a hold of you and your services.
Aha.
Yeah, I that was one of the things. Well, thank you for that, Jay. to do is simply give you guys a little piece of advice. If you wanted to try using a VA, it doesn't have to be me, obviously, but I would encourage you to just give them a few hours and try them out. If you want a VA for long-term projects and you want quality work, try one out for a couple hours, give them 5 hours, give them 10 hours worth of work to do, see how you like it. And that way there's no commitment. You can move on to somebody else if you're not happy. Any VA that's worth their weight in stone will be willing to do that. I know I am, and I have no problem with it. So that would be my first bit of advice. And if you would like out and use me as VA, I would be to work with you. You can reach me at alanab52@gmail.com.
alanab52@gmail.com.
gmail.com.
Yeah. Right on.
ANNA.
And you're saying, don't you, you don't necessarily have to use me, but I'm going to chime in and say, you know, as that's part of the purpose of what we're doing here with Being Your Own CEO is to get that experience of knowing each other and trusting each other and that engagement. So I do encourage and do say that people in this group do business together. So
thank you. Thank you.
So I want to say so long for this morning. Thanks everybody for participating, and I loved some of the points that came out. So this is Lowell Ann signing off for today with a reminder to please check out the Being Your Own CEO community on Google+ and participate, engage. Okay, bye for now.